Hello everyone, welcome to my guide to Radiant Typhoon post-Burst Protocol. This deck is getting two, arguably three, new cards in Burst Protocol, and it is a new Link 2, a new Quick Play, and arguably a new monster. This is a deck built around Mystical Space Typhoon, a very old card, and it's really cool. This deck is supposed to be, according to a lot of the top players, one of the top 5 best decks in the next format, and I'm happy to see it. This deck's really cool. I'm excited to get into it, so let's do it. First off, we have the Mystical Space Typhoon. It can target a spell trap on the field and destroy it. Very simple card, and honestly, pretty good card. This card's really good at the moment. Spell trap removal, especially that removal that can target your own cards, is really good at the moment because of Draco Tail. And it's going to be good into the other decks too. It's good in the Mirror, it's good into Branded, it's good into a bunch of decks. Even Yummy it's not bad into. Just a very, very, very solid card. The whole deck's built around this card, whether it's activating it, searching it, or making it more powerful. This card is, you want to see this in every game. This card is, you're getting to it every time. You're using multiple every time. It's important this card isn't once per turn as well. Legitimately a very good card, even though it is like 2 decades old. After that, we've got 3 Radiant Typhoon Crocea. Crocea cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects while your opponent controls no spell or traps. And if a quick play spell is activated, you can summon this card from your hand. And then if this card is normal or special, you can add a Radiant Typhoon card or a Mystical Space Typhoon from your deck or grave to your hand, and then you are locked into wins for the rest of the turn. So this card has pretty much everything you're going to be seeing on most of the cards in this archetype. There's a beneficial effect when your opponent controls no spell or traps. It has an effect to summon itself if a quick play is activated. It can search a card from your deck and MST, and it locks you into wins. It's got things that are featured on every card in this archetype in some way or another. And it's also probably the best card in this archetype. Being able to summon itself for free and being able to search 2 cards on summon is crazy. The Windlock can be annoying, but if you play this deck pure, it really doesn't matter at all. All the cards you're making are wins for the most part, so really isn't a big deal. Notably, you can also summon this on your opponent's turn if you use a quick play, so it can also get you extra follow-up on the next turn as well if you draw multiples, which isn't bad. Phenomenal card. Very, very good. After that, we've got 3 Radiant Typhoon Swen. If you have an MST in your grave or your opponent controls no spell or traps, you can summon this from your hand. And then if this card is summoned, you can just search your deck for a Radiant Typhoon spell trap or MST. This card has a line of text on it that's on every level 3 monster, which is the effect that if you have MST in your grave or your opponent controls no spell traps, and you summon this from your hand, all the level 3s have that text. And it just on summon searches any of your cards, which is really good. Besides the monsters, of course, which is what our next Radiant Typhoon monster, Eldam, does. It has the level 3 summoned itself from hand effect, and if this card is summoned, you can search a Radiant Typhoon monster or MST from your deck to your hand. So this one is the one that gets you monsters, Swen is the one that gets you spell traps. Notably, Eldam can get you to Swen, and spoiler, Swen can get you to Eldam, so these two get into each other really easily. They kind of get your whole deck going. The best starters in the deck, for sure, by themselves. After that, we got 1 Radiant Typhoon Magala. Magala can also summon itself with the level 3 summoning condition, and if a Radiant Typhoon Quick Play or MST is activated, you can summon a Radiant Typhoon monster from your deck with a different name than the ones you control, but you are locked into wins for the rest of the turn. This is I think the only other card in the deck with a wind lock on it, so this deck isn't that restrictive, but it matters. Notably, this effect you can use on either turn as well as like the Crocea. So you can use this on your turn to get something like a Crocea out of your deck, and then you can use it on your opponent's turn to get one of your big bosses out, which we will get into in a minute. This card's really good. You only played it 1 though because it's not a 1-card starter, and like it just doesn't pair as nicely with other cards in this deck as some of the other ones do, and you can always get to this really easily. After that, we've got 1 Radiant Typhoon Phonix, the Great Flame. If a quick play spell is activated, you can summon this from your hand, and then if a quick play spell is activated, you can target up to 2 cards your opponent controls and shuffle them into the deck. And then if MST is activated while this card is in your grave, you can summon it. So this card has a bunch of ways to cheat it out, and when you use a quick play, you get to shuffle 2 cards back. Really good at part of the end board that you can just slap on. This deck is drawing a lot of cards, so usually you'll be getting this with either Magala or you'll be drawing into it over the course of your combo. Definitely not like mandatory, to be honest, but it's nice for this deck to just have boss monsters, because otherwise you don't really have much of a boss. Our other big guy is Radiant Typhoon Vararoon, the Vibrant Vortex. If a quick play is activated, this card can summon itself from the hand, and when your opponent activates a monster effect and you have an MST in your grave, you can negate that effect. Then if you have two or more MST in your grave, you can destroy that monster. And then if an MST is activated while it's in your grave, you can summon it from the grave. Very good interruption. This deck doesn't have a lot of ways to interact with monsters. It really is just Phonics and Vararoon, which is why we kind of need to be playing these cards. It's just so we can deal with monster effects. And this one's the best at doing it. It just a negate is really solid. Great card. After that, we've got 3 Radiant Typhoon Vision. This card has... So this is going to show how all of the Radiant Typhoon quick plays work. If it's destroyed by MST, you can set this card. That's on all the quick plays. And then you can activate one of these effects, but you can only use each one once per turn. So you can use one of these effects each per turn. The first effect is you can draw 2 cards. Then if you have a Radiant Typhoon card or a quick play in your hand, you can discard one of them or your entire hand if you don't. So it's basically a better Allure of Darkness for this deck. You can just discard pretty much any card in your deck. This deck is almost entirely quick plays and Radiant Typhoon cards. So you're almost never going to be pitching your whole hand. And then the second effect lets you add a Mystical Space Typhoon from your deck or grave to your hand. All of the quick plays have a second effect that lets you search MST. So I'm not even going to go over that. I'm just going to go over the first effect because all the other text on these cards is the same as each other. After that, we got 2 Radiant Typhoon Elation. This is one of the new cards. This card's it has the destruction effect, and then its main different effect is you can summon a level 6 or lower Radiant Typhoon monster from your grave. So this card is fine. It's like a nice extender to have. It's a really good way to just like extend into boards as well. It's like a totally fine card. I'm not even sure if you play this at 2. You might cut this down to 1. I'm not really sure. But having more ways to just search MST is also good. Like just having names in the deck is important. And this is better than the other card which you could play, which is the Radiant Typhoon quick play. Hold on. I'll pull it up. I should have had it pulled up already. Is the Radiant Typhoon Manifestation, which is just a foolish burial for Radiant Typhoons, which I think is, personally, you could honestly go one of this, one Elation, instead of playing 2 Elation. I just thought Elation was a little better. After that, we got 3 Radiant Typhoon Chant. This has all the same text as the other ones, and it can search a level 4 low Radiant Typhoon monster from your deck to your hand. So this is what allows you to have Swen bridge into your Eldam, and then Eldam get you into whatever you want, and vice versa. These cards are really good, really important. Chant is super solid. After that, we've got the last Radiant Typhoon card in the main deck, which is Radiant Typhoon Mandate. This card can once per turn target 3 quick plays in your grave, including a Radiant Typhoon card, and then shuffle them into the deck, then draw 1 card, and then it will also have all wins you control gain 300 attack and events for the rest of the turn. And then the really important text on this card is, once per chain, when MST is activated, you can target 1 face-up card your opponent controls and negate its effects. That is super powerful. It means that your MST becomes a negate, which is, if you know the meme, it's that. But that's a really powerful effect. It means you can end on multiple copies of Mystical Space Typhoon, and each one represents a spell trap negate, or if your opponent summons a monster and then uses a spell trap, you can also just pop that spell trap and negate the monster. So it's like a better spell trap negate. The only thing you have to be careful about is this has to directly respond to the Mystical Space Typhoon. So if your opponent uses a spell and then you use Mystical Space Typhoon to pop it, and then they have a quick play or some quick effect to chain to the Mystical Space Typhoon, you won't be able to then immediately chain the Radiant Typhoon Mandate, which is unfortunate. But it's still a really powerful interaction. You want to be ending on this every single time. And this is where I'm going to get into the link to, because it kind of puts this card into context and how one of the best things about this deck. We have Radiant Typhoon Vararoon the Sea Spirit. It takes 2 Radiant Typhoon monsters, and if this card is linked to something, you get to add an MST from your deck or grave to your hand. Really good, a way to just get an additional MST in a rotation. And then you can target 2 face-up monsters in the field, including a Radiant Typhoon monster you control, and place them face-up in their own spell and trap zones as continuous spells. Decent board-breaking effect, because you can also target itself. And then if a quick play spell is activated, you can place a Radiant Typhoon continuous trap from your deck or grave face up to your field. So that is how you are going to be getting into the Mandate. You just have to use any quick play, and this card will get it right into rotation. Really, really strong, really, really impactful. Mandate's super easy to get to. This gets you to it really easily. And this card's the game changer. This card just does so much. And this deck, the problem with this deck pre-Burst Protocol was it could throw out a lot of bodies, but it didn't have anything to do with those bodies other than make, like, wind rank 3s, which were fine, but, like, this card just does so much for your strategy. After that, we've got the new Sheena, the Twin Storm Deities of Divine Thunder. This card is a generic wind support card, but, like, let's be real, it was made to support this deck. When your opponent activates a card or effect while you control a wind monster, you can quick effect summon this from your hand, then apply this effect based on the card effect's type. So you can, if it's a monster, you can run all face-up monsters in the field to the hand, and if it was a spell trap, you can run all spell traps in the field to the hand. This card is insane. If your opponent tries to interact with you at all with monsters going second, you just get to summon this and then bounce every monster in the field to the hand, and they can't even, like, imperm this or anything, because it's all one effect. The summon and the bounce are all one thing, so it's really hard to interact with. If your opponent, like, Veilers, when it tries to Veiler one of your monsters, you can use this effect to summon it and then bounce that monster back so they can't Veiler it. It dodges the Veiler. This card's unbelievable. This is gonna break, like, every win deck in the future. Any win deck that can play this card is going to be in such a good position. I think this card is phenomenal. And it's a good interruption too. Just having this card in your hand, it's really hard to interact with, and as long as you control a wind monster, your opponent has to be really careful with how they play their turn. After that, we've got one Called by the Grave. It's a quick play, and it's also just a really good card. We have 3 Fallen on the Virtuous, also a really good card, and a quick play spell. 3 Forbidden Droplet, which is also a really good card, and a quick play spell. 3 Foolos, which is a wind monster, which matters for Sheena, and also just a really good card, and then Ash Blossom, for obvious reasons. Then we have our 3 Link monsters. This deck is pretty light on the extra deck, or not tight, I should say, so you could totally afford to play 3 of this guy. We've then got 1 Enter Blathnir. We can easily put 2, not easily, but we can put 2 9s on board with Sheena and our 2 level 9 boss monsters. So this card's not that difficult to make, and it's a wind, so why not? We have 1 Totem Bird, which is a spell trap negate that can be made with 2 wind monsters, so it's not bad. We have 1 Cicada King, which is a wind that can be made with 2 level 3s that can negate. It's kind of like a weird monster negate. And then we have Bamboozling Gossip Shadow, which is also a weird monster negate and a wind rank 3. Notably, this one lets you draw cards, which is awesome. It's very easy to be drawing, like, 5 to 7 cards between you and your opponent's turns. If you go first, it's kind of nuts. After that, we've got 1 Harass Velger, which takes 2 or more wins and can target a monster in your opponent's grave shuffled into the deck. Just a nice interaction. We've got 1 Harpy Conductor. This is in here because you should probably be citing Harpy's Featherstorm, which, if you play Harpy Conductor, you can use this from your hand as a hand trap, which is broken. That's really the only reason we're on it. The card doesn't do anything otherwise. Then we're on 1 Win, the Wind Charmer. Why not? It's makeable. 1 SP, 1 Typhon, and then the 3 targets for our Fallen and the Virtuous. This deck doesn't have a lot of extra things I would try and play. The only other thing I might mention is just other quick play spells. You could play, like, Super Poly or Forbidden Crown, just other good stuff quick plays, but that's really it. This deck is pretty simple. There are things you can mix with it. One of the popular builds I've seen is Fiendsmith Radiant Typhoon, which uses your 2 3s to go into the Mellow Melody, just a rank 3 light fiend, and then you get to do full Fiendsmith combo. Really strong stuff. And now let's get into the combo. Okay, so this deck really only has 1 card combo. Well, 2, I guess, but they all kind of work the same, which is Swen. Swen's going to get Radiant Typhoon Chant. Chant's going to get Eldam. Eldam's going to get Crocea. You're then going to Tribute Summon Crocea. Crocea is going to search MST and Vision. We're then going to link into Vararoon, and Vararoon's going to get another MST. Vision's going to draw 2, discard 1. It doesn't matter what we draw into. We are going to be discarding one of the MSTs we had. If you can discard something else, that's probably ideal, because the MSTs do represent more interaction. Then we're going to use the Vararoon to place the Radiant Typhoon Mandate, since we used a quick play, and then Mandate can put back our 3 quick plays that we used and / discarded and draw a card, and then we can set the MST and pass. So this doesn't look very good. This is only 1 interruption, but you got to keep in mind, we drew 3 cards off of this 1 card combo. So we're going to have 7 cards in our hand, along with an interruption, along with the fact that out of our deck, there was 26 cards we can draw from this, once we place this mandate. There are 26 cards we can draw that read win the game, not win the game, but just read like an interruption, right? You have 26 cards that all equal an interruption out of your deck. So you're almost certainly going to have like several interruptions just from the rest of your cards in the hand and the 3 cards you draw. So you should be fine on interactions, and this deck wants to be grinding the game out pretty slowly. So it doesn't mind having to, just work on hand advantage, because it can just keep getting cards every single turn. Every card in this deck pluses you something. So feels crazy, feels insane. And that was the deck. I imagine this one's going to be pretty short. It's a pretty simple deck when you get down to it. It's just Mystical Space Typhoon control, but it's really fun, and I think this deck's also really solid. I'd recommend giving Pure a shot. I don't know if this is the way people are going to play this deck. I know there's like a Tri-Brigade build, there's a Fiendsmith build. I've even seen this deck played with like other stuff just because Swen and Eldam are 1-card rank 3s. This deck has a lot of options, but I think Pure hopefully is the way it's going to go, because I think this deck's really fun and really cool. So anyway, I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.